The Morning Drive is sponsored by Power Metallic. To find out more about the company, please visit their website at powermetallic.com. Follow the Money Investor Group is a 100% Indigenous-owned company and certified with the Canadian Council for Aboriginal Business.
Robert Quartermain.
Good morning.
Absolutely, another beautiful day here in New Orleans.
It is.
And you are the CEO of Dakota Gold Corp.
Correct.
Last time we spoke, I don't think you had an economic statement out about your
Correct.
project.
That's right.
So I would say that would probably be the most important thing to talk about right now.
Right.
Would you like to kind of give us an overview of those details?
Yes, very much so. We completed a resource update in February of this year, and that gave us 3.6 million ounces of measured and indicated gold and another 2.6 million ounces of inferred gold, along with a very nice silver credit. And we then spent a number of months putting what's called an SK 1300 initial assessment with cash flow. So we actually hired M3 and a number of other consultants and put together what would be a PEA-like document. It's extensive, it's on our website. And it looks at the potential economics of the project, which are very robust, certainly in this gold environment. We are looking at, we looked at both a measured and indicated as well as a measured, indicated, and inferred plan. And I'll speak to the measured and indicated. The details, of course, are all on our website. In the measured and indicated plan, we're looking at mining at approximately 30,000 tons a day. And over the course of an 18-year mine life, that would produce about 2.8 million ounces of gold. The all-in sustaining costs, which are really quite attractive, would be about $1,050. So
Wow.
in light of current gold prices, great margins.
Yeah,
Right.
that seems like a little lower than actually some other companies.
No, for sure, and it's certainly lower than the average, and we're fortunate because we're 2 miles north of Coeur's Wharf mine. So we've been actually an operating mine that we can use data, real-time data, what do their costs look like, and use those in our economic assessment. So the plan is very good in using real-time economic data. We're looking at a capital cost, a total of around $384 million. That includes around a $50 million contingency. But the key thing is, the rate of return on the project. We use a $2,350 gold price in order to do an economic assessment, and that showed a $1.6 billion net present value at a 5% discount rate. So certainly very attractive. If you looked at current gold prices, of course, that would be much higher. It'd be closer probably to about $3 billion as a discounted NPV, and you'd have greater than 100% rate of return versus the 50% rate of return that would come at a $2,350 gold. So we were conservative in our estimation on it, but it just shows how robust this project is.
When did you do that?
That was in July the 8th we released it.
Okay. Do you remember around where the gold price was? I know it's an odd question, but because you were definitely conservative.
We were conservative, but we started the assessment back early in the start of the year, so January, February. So gold prices were certainly, kind of sub that 3,000 or just getting to the 3,000 level. So we were conservative at the time.
Sure.
But over the course of the year, we've seen the gold price appreciate substantially, and we basically locked in at what was consensus at that time when you would look at perhaps a 3-year average, trailing average with respect to the gold price.
Yeah, it really is fascinating because take a step away from the company. You're here, you're in New Orleans. There's some economists here. You got Peter Schiff. You got really bright people like Rick Rule, who I'm sure is a friend of yours.
Yes.
And lots of other really smart people, really bright minds in the industry. There does seem to be a solid consensus for greater debasement of the U.S. dollar, which
Correct.
obviously is very good for gold.
Right.
So the future looks bright for gold.
Yes.
And projects like this that have someone like yourself who is very well known and respected in the industry, who's an amazing leadership team. When the gold price starts to move, and someone like myself who owns these stocks, I feel really great about owning these projects because the economics just get better and better and better.
And that's right. And the fact that we're located in South Dakota, which is a mining jurisdiction. Mining has been going on there since 1878 with the discovery of the Homestake mine, we're in the historic Homestake district. The Wharf mine's been operating now for 40 years. Because of the gold price continues to go up, it continues to be able to drop its grade down, and still is a very profitable mine in that regard. Our average grade of our project will be about 0.53 grams of gold, but we still have lots of exploration opportunities on the Richmond Hill project. So we continue to have drill results, which we'll be releasing out through the fall. We're doing some preliminary metallurgy work, so we still have catalysts coming forward that will continue to show the robustness of this project, as you say, and the fact that we're now looking to develop it in this $4,000 gold environment. It should only get better for our shareholders as we go forward, because 4 years from now, when we would hope to be in production, I would expect to see a much higher gold price.
When it comes to funding the development to get into production, you want to maybe talk about that strategy?
Yes, with a $385 million capital cost, and it's a heap leach operation, so these are well defined. You see them throughout the United States, and as a consequence of that, we can get equipment relatively easily, source it in the United States, much of what we would be able to need. When you look at Nevada, there's many heap leaches out there, so for the sizes we're looking at, we'll be able to get that equipment, and to fund it, as you point out, we can do a mix and blend of between equity and probably debt. We have our major shareholder, who is Orion, who, when they did our financing in the company a few years ago, agreed to provide up to about $300 million in project financing. Now, we didn't do the details on that, but as we continue to get forward, complete our feasibility study, and then have a document we can use for financing opportunities, then we'll be able to kind of crystallize exactly the style of financing we're going to need for the project. But as you point out, with this high gold price, projects are finding access to capital relatively quickly now, and we think we'll probably have that same opportunity in a few years as we look to do that project financing at that time.
And the longer the gold price stays up, it gets rid of that narrative about, well, it's shot up here, but is it going to stay there? So that starts to fix itself.
Right.
For our community that would be very familiar with the Lausanne curve and where your company
Correct.
is in that curve,
Yes.
How would you articulate the, de-risking of you and your team being able to execute and get this mining into production?
The key thing is people, which you point out. I've done this a few times before in my career, all throughout the world. The most recent, of course, was the Bruce Jack project in northern BC, which was a very different build and construction situation than we're currently seeing ourselves here. We're in an existing mining camp, infrastructure is there, and we've been able to hire individuals, particularly Jack Henris, who's our president, who's have much experience working in the Nevada area for large companies, putting heap leaches and operating heap leaches. So the team is important. And then from a de-risking perspective, as I say, we've completed this financial assessment from an initial perspective. We got more drilling to be able to do infill drilling to help us be able to prove and turn our resource into reserve over time. And at the same time, metallurgy is key. We expect to have recoveries of around 85% based off historical work. We're doing some preliminary metallurgical work right now, and we would hope to be able to add to that with a much more robust plan next year. So that will all inform the feasibility study. And with that in hand, because this is certainly a known development style, then I think being able to put the team together, the construction team, will be relatively easy because of the fact that we have an existing operating heap leach operation right next door to where we're going to be constructing ourselves.
Is there anything that the current U.S. government is doing to fast track permitting in this area, or is it not relevant to the story? Because there's a lot going on in the world right now when it comes to trade agreements, and I know it's gold, but just is there anything that you're seeing that might help this? I
think anything that any administrations are doing on both sides of the border is just good for the industry, because we're now in the narrative, whereas before we hadn't been. This is the first time I think in my career I've heard politicians discuss so much about mining projects and the need for critical minerals. Gold has been defined loosely that way because we use it every day in our our cell phones. It impacts our everyday life. But with respect to our project, we're fortunate that we're on private land, and because of the permitting schedule for being on private land in South Dakota, we have to deal with the local county, Lawrence County, as well as with the state with a major mine permit. But that can all be done in a fairly defined and prescribed process going forward. So we've already met with regulators who've been able to come in, tell us the kinds of baseline work that they want to see done, and we're doing that baseline work now. And that will therefore inform our feasibility study, which therefore would go and inform the permitting. So being on private land in South Dakota is certainly a good benefit for us, and we're not as impacted as others would be with changes in federal regulations.
Do you want to talk at all about potential and new exploration?
Oh, for sure. I mean, the nice thing about Dakota Gold, we have a large land package in this historic mining district that I say has produced over 45 million ounces from the Homestake mine and the Wharf mine combined together. And within that 48,000, we have about 14,000 private land, and we have our two key projects, which is Richmond Hill, which is the more immediate, putting it into production, gold opportunity. And then we have our Maitland project, which first got me interested in the Homestake district. It's a long strike of the old Homestake mine. The west ledges in the Homestake mine produced about 6 million ounces of high-grade gold. The average resource grade there was around 11 grams over 6 meters. We have 47 drill holes into our Maitland project now, and those average out at about 10.7 grams across 4 meters. So very similar to a multi-million ounce deposit, which is only 2 to 3 miles south of us. So we're really encouraged by that, and of course it needs more drill work going forward. But as the gold price continues to go up, we get access to capital. We put Richmond Hill in production. We've got capital that we can then use to explore the rest of the district, and more importantly, advance our Maitland project, define a resource on it, and then look to put it in production. And all within a 15-minute drive of our office.
You know, I got two more questions left for you. So one would be, if we looked at the capital that you have in the treasury right now,
right,
moving forward the rest of the year, and then maybe in the first 2 quarters of next year, how are you going to allocate that capital to advance projects and advance the company along further?
Right. At the June quarterly financial statements, we had around $41 million in cash in the company. We also have around 6 million warrants outstanding, a little over $2, which would bring in another around $13 million into the company. So we're well funded for all the work we want to do this year, and what we're seeing with respect to our budget of doing feasibility work next year, which is going to be the drilling and the engineering studies. So we're in a good position right now with respect to access to capital and what we have in our balance sheets to be able to see us go forward for 25 through 26.
And my last question is, of course, you like to go around as any other CEO and sell the story.
Yes.
Where are you going to be headed to do that over the next 2 quarters? You're going to go to, I think you're going to be staying here in the States?
That's right. I'm going to be doing some marketing over the next few days up in Austin and Dallas, seeing fund managers there. Of course, next month there are conferences both in Toronto and London, hosted by some different banking groups, which will be speaking there. And then starting in spring, there are gold shows in Vancouver we'll be attending. And then, of course, in February, there's also some industry shows as well. So over the next 3 months or next quarter, we're going to be very active getting out and speaking about the story. But more importantly, that will also coincide with us releasing further drill results from the area where we're drilling, where we're seeing some nice higher grade mineralization. And then also completion of this initial metallurgical test work we're working on to show how we expect the material to be able to leach.
And your shareholder base, last question, how would you explain your shareholder base? Like if we were looking at a pie chart, you know, is it mostly institutions, high net worth, some retail? It
would be a combination of both, where we've got a nice institutional client base now. Orion's the largest shareholder. I'm the second largest shareholder in the company. And then we have a number of institutions who own anywhere from 1% to 3% of the company. And then perhaps a little over 50% would be held by retail shareholders and high net worth individuals. You know, we have a number of shareholders here at the conference, so which is why I come here to be able to speak to them.
Yeah.
We hosted a breakfast yesterday. A number of shareholders came out to it, so it's great to interact with them and on a one-to-one to explain the asset that they have and the investment they have and the opportunities we have forward in an increasing gold price.
Thank you very much for joining me on another morning drive. I just wanted our community to know we will be doing an X Space with Bob and his team on November 25th. You can go into the description of this video. You can grab that link and you can set it in your calendar. And if there's any new updates, we'll be talking about those things. And then also you'll just be marketing to the X community, which is a little different than this one. So really looking forward to that. Thank you very much for doing this, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Great, thank you very much. Enjoyed the drive.